The rumbling started as a vibration in the steel rails beneath me, traveling up through my spine like an electric current. I'd been conscious for maybe 5 minutes, long enough to realize 3 horrifying facts. I was tied to train tracks, the 3:47 a.m. freight was approaching, and my family had put me here. The ropes were expert knots, my stepfather Dale's maritime background finally serving a purpose more sinister than weekend sailing. My wrists were bound to one rail, my ankles to the other, spreading me across the tracks like a sacrifice to the iron gods of American freight transport. The gap in my memory between going to bed and waking up here was filled with the bitter aftertaste of whatever they'd drugged my evening tea with. In the distance, the train's headlight pierced the pre-dawn darkness like a cyclops' eye, growing larger with each heartbeat. I screamed, but the duct tape across my mouth reduced it to muffled desperation. This was really happening. My family, my stepfather, my mother, and my stepbrother Eric, had actually done this. I should have seen it coming. The life insurance policy they'd taken out on me 6 months ago for college planning. The sudden interest in my dangerous sleepwalking episodes that had never existed until they started mentioning them to neighbors. The way Eric had started asking about train schedules, claiming it was for a school project about transportation infrastructure. The rumbling grew stronger. I could make out the individual segments of the approaching freight train now, a mechanical serpent that would cut me in half in less than 2 minutes. I thrashed against the ropes, feeling them bite deeper into my skin but hold firm. Dale had been a Navy man before he married my mother. He knew his knots. Tears streamed down my face as I thought about how they'd explain this. Poor Luna, they'd sob. We tried so hard to keep her safe from her sleepwalking. We had no idea she'd wandered so far. If only we'd locked her door. If only, if only, if only. The train's horn blared. The conductor had seen me. Brakes shrieked like banshees as thousands of tons of steel tried to deny physics and stop. But I'd heard enough about trains and drivers ed to know the truth. A freight train going full speed needs almost a mile to stop. The conductor had maybe a quarter mile of visibility in the darkness. I wasn't going to make it. The headlight was blinding now, the horn continuous, the brakes screaming their futile protest against momentum. I closed my eyes, thinking of my best friend Jenna who'd never know the truth, of the college acceptance letters I'd never open, of the life I'd never live because the people who were supposed to protect me had tied me to these rails like some villain in an old movie. The train stopped, 50 feet away, maybe less. The heat from the engine washed over me like dragon's breath. The headlight illuminated every detail of my predicament. The ropes, the duct tape, my pajamas that I'd gone to bed in just hours ago. For a moment, everything was silent except for the engine's idle and my hyperventilating through my nose. Then doors opened. Voices shouted. Footsteps ran on gravel. The conductor reached me first, a burly man whose face went from relieved to horrified as he took in the scene. Jesus Christ, he breathed, already pulling out a knife. Hold still, kid. I've got you. He cut the ropes with efficiency while his partner, the engineer, was already on his radio. Emergency stop successful. We have a situation. Young female tied to the tracks. Repeat, someone tied her to the tracks. We need police and ambulance immediately. As soon as my hands were free, I ripped the duct tape off my mouth, gasping. My family. They did this. They. Slow down, the conductor said, helping me sit up. My legs were numb from the ropes. You're safe now. What's your name? Luna Morrison. I live at 442 Hickory Lane. My stepfather, my mother, and stepbrother. They drugged me and brought me here. They're trying to kill me for insurance money. The two men exchanged looks. The engineer spoke into his radio again, his voice harder now. We need units at 442 Hickory Lane immediately. Possible attempted murder suspects. We waited there by the tracks, the massive train looming like a mechanical guardian that had chosen mercy over schedule. The conductor gave me his jacket and water from his thermos while the engineer documented everything with his phone. I told them about the insurance policy, the fake sleepwalking stories, waking up on the tracks. You're lucky, the engineer said quietly. Another 30 seconds and police arrived in minutes, followed by paramedics who checked me for injuries. The rope burns were severe, and I was dehydrated from whatever sedative they'd used, but I was alive. Detective Amanda Reeves took my statement right there by the tracks, her expression darkening with each detail. Your family's at home? She asked. They should be. They probably went back to bed thinking. I couldn't finish the sentence. We've already sent units. But Luna, I need to ask. Do you have any proof? Any evidence besides your word? My heart sank. It would be my word against theirs. They'd cry, claim I was troubled, that I must have done this to myself somehow. Who would believe that a mother would help murder her own daughter? That's when the engineer cleared his throat. About that, he said. Our locomotive has a forward-facing camera. Company policy after too many crossing accidents. Records everything. Detective Reeves's eyes lit up. How far back does it record? The whole trip. But here's the thing. It's high definition, with night vision for exactly this kind of situation. If someone was on or near these tracks in the last hour, we'll have them on video. My heart raced. They hadn't known about the camera. How could they? It wasn't something advertised, wasn't common knowledge that freight trains had started installing security systems. Within an hour, the footage was downloaded. I couldn't watch it, the trauma was too fresh. But Detective Reeves and the FBI agents who'd been called and watched every second. Their faces told me everything I needed to know. Clear as day, Agent Torres said, looking at me with a mixture of sympathy and rage. 3 individuals dragging an unconscious fourth person. They spent 12 minutes tying the victim, you, to the tracks. One of them, the younger male, can be seen checking his phone multiple times. The timestamp shows they left the scene at 3:31 a.m. 16 minutes before the train was scheduled to pass, Detective Reeves added. They knew exactly what they were doing. The arrest happened while I was still at the hospital being treated for shock and dehydration. Dale, my mother Linda, and Eric were all home, in bed, playing the role of a family about to wake up to terrible news of their daughter's tragic accident. Instead, they woke up to FBI agents and a warrant. Where's Luna? My mother apparently cried out. Is she okay? Did something happen? Cut the act, Agent Torres told her. We have you on video. The story they'd prepared fell apart instantly. They'd been so careful, drugging my tea with Dale's prescription sleeping pills, carrying me to the car while unconscious, driving to the most remote section of track. They'd even worn dark clothing and parked far from the scene. But they hadn't counted on the train having a dashboard camera with military-grade night vision. Standard equipment on that particular freight company's locomotives after a series of lawsuits. The footage was damning. You could see Dale tying the knots with practiced efficiency. Eric checking the train schedule on his phone, the screen's glow illuminating his face. My mother actually testing the knots to make sure I couldn't escape. The most chilling part, according to the prosecutor, was how calm they all seemed. Like they were setting up a picnic, not committing murder. Poor girl, always wandering in her sleep. Dale had told the police during his arrest, still trying to sell the story. But when they showed him the footage, he went silent. What could he say? The video showed him carrying my unconscious body, showed him producing rope from a bag, showed him methodically ensuring I would die. The FBI agent's words at the trial still echo. This wasn't a crime of passion or a moment of insanity. This was a carefully planned execution that would have succeeded if not for 2 factors. A vigilant train conductor who managed an almost impossible emergency stop and technology the perpetrators didn't know existed. The insurance policy was the motive, but the investigation revealed more. My college fund, money my biological father had left me before his death, that Dale had been slowly draining. The house that was in my name, willed to me by my grandmother, that they couldn't sell without my signature. I was worth more dead than alive to the people who were supposed to love me. Linda broke first, trying to claim Dale had forced her, that she was also a victim. But the video showed her testing my bonds, adjusting the duct tape on my mouth, patting Eric on the shoulder as they walked away from what they thought would be my death scene. Eric, only 19, tried to claim he didn't know they were really going to do it, that he thought it was just to scare me. But his phone records showed he'd researched train schedules for weeks, finding the perfect combination of remote location and timing. He'd even calculated the stopping distance of a loaded freight train to ensure it couldn't break in time. All 3 were convicted of attempted murder, conspiracy, and insurance fraud. Dale got 40 years, essentially a life sentence at his age. Linda got 30. Eric, despite his youth, got 25. The judge said the calculated nature of the crime, the abuse of familial trust, and the sheer cruelty of the method warranted severe sentences. You didn't just try to kill Luna Morrison, the judge said at sentencing. You tried to make her death a spectacular tragedy, to traumatize a train crew, to defraud insurance companies, and to walk away as grieving family members. The callousness is almost incomprehensible. I live with my aunt now, in a different state. The rope scars have faded but never fully disappeared. Railroad tracks of their own across my wrists and ankles. I still can't hear train horns without freezing, can't watch movies where people are tied to tracks, can't take sleeping pills even when I need them. But I'm alive because of technology my would-be killers never considered, and a train conductor who achieved the nearly impossible. 50 feet. That's how close I came to being another tragic sleepwalking accident, another cautionary tale, another insurance payout. The dashboard camera footage was eventually released to the public after the trial. It's grainy, shot in that green night vision tint, but you can see everything that matters. 3 people methodically ensuring the death of a 4th. A family executing one of their own. Sometimes I wonder what they thought about during those 16 minutes between leaving me and the scheduled arrival of the train. Did they second guess? Feel remorse? Or did they just go home and wait for the inevitable call, practicing their shocked reactions in the mirror? I'll never know. What I do know is that a camera mounted on a train's dashboard saw what human eyes were meant to miss. It captured murder in progress and transformed it into evidence that no lawyer could explain away. They tied me to railroad tracks like a damsel in an old film, but technology had evolved even if their methods hadn't. The train's camera became an unblinking witness to their cruelty, preserving every second of their crime in digital clarity. 50 feet from death, saved by modern safety equipment and old-fashioned human decency. The conductor visits sometimes, checks in on me. He says I'm the reason he still has nightmares, but also the reason he's proud of his reflexes. 50 feet. The margin between being a victim and being a survivor. The train's camera saved more than evidence. It saved my life by ensuring justice. My family thought they'd planned the perfect murder, but they'd plotted against the wrong century. Trains have cameras now. Conductors have radios. And rope burns, unlike sleepwalking stories.